Have you, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mark Fishbein, aka Poet with Guitar, born in Brooklyn, New York. He earned a BA in literature from the CCNY in 1970. That's long time ago. Attended the Sorbonne in Paris to study French literature. Then, of course, as time went on, he rejected an academic life. He found a career in the flourishing screen print and t-shirt dyeing industry. Raised a family in New York City yet already. Always had a book of poems in his pocket. In 2018, he left the industry and re-engaged with poetry. At this time, Mark has 5 books available on Amazon, including Stances, 2018, and an ekphrastic book, Poems Hanging in a Wall, 2020. He has published in a variety of publications. His most recent work, Reflections in the Time of Trumpius Maximus, is a collection of 50 political poems written between 2016 and 2021. Atmosphere Press, 2021. Mark hosts weekly writers' workshops and a unique Zoom event, Planet Poetry 28, a monthly virtual magazine of poets from around the world who perform their poetry while sharing screens to show the work. Mark is the executive person or head of the PGN Poetry Global Network, chancellor of the Poetry Academy, which offers workshops, study events, and focuses on subjects of interest to the modern Zoom generation of poets. He is now retired with a desire to teach poetry on the college level. Mark is currently enrolled in Columbia College, Chicago, for an MFA in poetry by the spring of 2025. Good luck with that. So, a stellar poet with guitar, a man of long merit.
Well,
And we're going to hear him now, and I'm going to mute me because I'll go on if I don't do that. So, Mark,
well,
the
sure.
mic is to you.
Well, that was a little too long. Well, since then, a lot's happened. Today, actually, I had a poem that was played on Rattle, a poem of the day. It got into Rattle. And I've got another book out, which is an ekphrastic book about Chicago. But today, I thought I have 20 minutes. I'm going to read a book, a collection of poetry. It's 20 sonnets. And it takes a little bit less than a minute to read a sonnet. These sonnets were based on travels that I went throughout my whole life. You can tell when they're dated, and they're put in such a way like a passport in which stamps of different countries come in different pages. They're no particular order, but you should probably catch that. So we'll start with Australia, Tasmania, 1992. I drove without passing a car for miles as shadows grew in the darkening night. A wallaby jumped over the hood in a fright and in an instant was splattered on the roadside. Now, I never killed a wallaby or anything wild. Can it be I traveled round the world to end its life? There was blood on the windshield, blood on the tires, evidence of a brutal act or perhaps a suicide. Why such a stupid death, such a terrified pose? What drove it out of its home which knows no black surface where nothing grows? Now it is fodder for the vultures and the crows, like a martyr who dies the way of saints, and innocence shunned at heaven's gates. Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, 1982. From sun decks above a pink charisma, the Atlantic sprays its moist perfume on the chiseled bodies of Ipanema. The samba sounds begin to bloom on mosaic paths surrounding Rio, and the costume balls on Corvacado. We are sold our souls to the soro drum, initiates the soledade and coração. Oh, carnival, that delirious fantasia of painted bodies and masks of glitter. What nights of flesh and rock cocaine, dancing to dawn in erotic parade, far from the stink of the favelas, under the open arms of the Redeemer. Soviet Union, Leningrad, 1972. My hair was long, our dress was woodshop chic. We had a tourist visa for no more than a week. They stared at us with shock and disbelief, a pair of New York hippies on the street. Music of balalaika filled the parks in the haze of the white night's twilight to a pre-dawn glaze. Venice of the North, healing from Stalin days with streets of vodka drunks walking sideways. Women big as bears polishing the squares, babushkas covering red cheeks and hair. By the wide canals, lovers kissed without a care. It was the Cold War, but smiles were everywhere. They crowded to see our t-shirts, jeans, and jewelry, touching, applauding. We were the new royalty. Spain, Pyrenees, 2018. Carlos climbs 5 kilometers through the rockeries that lead to clearings on the mountain's edge, to the lush tall grasses by the prehistoric trees where his stock of bulls graze on the sedge. In our breaths, the taste of mountain air. This is what he knows. His generations are buried in caves where first men hunted ibex and bear. We speak of the future, and his voice is heavy. He feels the climate change in his veins as the sun drinks the rivers, bringing drought. There are no ice caps to melt the flames when land will catch fire and scorch the ground. That night, he prepared his prize winning beef. We toasted in silence for the succulent feast. New York, Bridgehampton, 1980 to 2005. We speak gently of greed, shifting from the decks above the surf, clear light pouring through cathedral ceilings. Before us, swans in V formation appear as if commanded to hover over sunsets. Buddhist knickknacks sit on shelves with Mozart and the hammocks among fruits and scented shells. God sits on the board of trustees, guarding our health, our loved ones, as we commiserate the end of the week, waving off ennui to the setting sun. The best and blessed among us, barons of crime, staring at our watches, keeping imperfect time. Ireland, Hollywood, 1997. On the hottest day in history ever recorded, we climbed the 10-mile Wicklow Pass on bike, my brain screaming military orders to my legs to reach the top at last. Then the whistling of descent for an hour. At sea level was Hollywood, a scenic town with the most perfect pub ever found. There we had a pint, or maybe three, a malted brew that tasted like mother's milk with a kick of hops. We were stewed and our biking screwed. Soon the bar filled up like a local saloon. And all I remember from then on were the toasts to us and the heroes past who descended from the Wicklow Pass. Argentina, Buenos Aires, 1990. The smell of steak on the grill at midnight and chocolinas by 3, then to Tangoville for wine and steamy pirouettes. Shopping starts at noon, or maybe 6, with store after store of shoes, snake and leather, smooth like skin, shoes in parrot-colored hues, shoes that fit like furry slippers and have the smell of Argentina. Everyone here must own 50 pair and change them with their underwear. We each make a pact to buy no more than 5, but ship the rest home to later arrive. Italy, Como, 1975, 2005. My fathers found paradise, Lago de Como, that kingdom where privileged and famous go, sipping wine on the ferry from the villa to the push carts in the medieval plaza. There he bought the scarves and perfumes to bear as gifts or stage in his rooms. He was raised so poor in the slums of depression. It was here my father found all consolation, returning each summer for 30 years for the dazzling 4th of July celebrations when fireworks and water skiers salute the Americans in Elysium. Each man finds his definition to be his way to declare, no one's better than me. Israel, Jerusalem, 2009. Tourist buses with pilgrims seek promise of redemption in the city of barricades. Come see the path of shame. Come bear witness how the first commandment is displayed. Crowds pass the bazaars of knickknacks to buy trinkets to show their congregations, postcards of the prophet soaring to the zodiac, or the savior of man asking why he was forsaken. Others take their selfies by the ancient wall, paying to embed a prayer they scrawled. Here the great religions are side by side after centuries of war and tribal divides. Peace on earth at last is found in the shopping mall of sacred ground. Pakistan, Karachi, 2005. Adorned as tapestries or magic carpets, the cars, trucks, three-wheel taxis, mule-drawn buggies, and camel-driven carts converge in the dust and the smell of diesel, passing in the traffic like an art museum. The curves are filled with refuse and goats, crowds with bare feet soiled in the endless slum of this metropolis so massive and remote. Here vehicles are tattooed end to end in crafted sections like a Versailles ceiling, with trims of lace and embroidered metals enameled with ornaments for a king. I forgot the squalor and became a boy who discovered a world of carriage toys. Holland, Amsterdam, 1968. Lying in our sleeping bag in the great student hall, Porter's Thief of Baghdad was projected on the wall. We were the long-haired tribe of youth, Europe on $5 a day, and counterculture truth. We spoke of love in common speech with acoustic guitars and pipes of hashish, how we would alter the course of history, which made the world bare of dreams. So tolerant the Dutch in their formal ways, smiling upon us in those errant days, indifferent to the drumbeats in the parks. They let the hippies do their dance in the dark. That was long ago. They knew it wouldn't last. They were young once, and we grow up fast. Costa Rica, Monteverde, 1993. From the clearing high on the continental divide in the mountains of Monteverde, the rainbows slide like ribbons of light to oceans on either side of the ridge. Clouds break for sun rays that blind a canopy of green. Giant hummingbirds flirt by, and the aroma of the dense mist is memorized. The wind echoes a cathedral of sound heard by the intricate force in the ground and gripped by the giant roots which ply on boughs which touch the roof of sky. How many times in my life could I be here? Me, a traveler whose soul was stripped bare, stunned such a landscape can exist on earth in an almost imagined serenity of rebirth. Tunisia, Carthage, 1970. To Carthage then I came, and there got dysentery. I was carried to the local clinic on a hill overlooking the ruins and maze of Medinas, wearing a tourist jalaba, feeling very ill. Squatting among the usual emergencies, broken limbs, childbirth, knife fights, disease, women in hijabs with teeth painted red, men in gray robes, turbans on their heads. As the only European, I was hastily received. Enchanté, a single-toothed doctor said to me. I screamed when a horse needle pierced my derriere as the open room filled with outbursts of cheer. Such was the time. I was the talk of the town, bare-assed in a tourist jalaba, bending down. Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill, 2017. Here on the hill, it's like a southern town with porches of gabled charm and restoration. Birds in the thousands gather around and chatter on the politics of migration. Here are high intellectual symposiums, foundations as old as the nation, where proclamations of freedom are born amid the bursting of fragment birdsong. In the nearby rose garden, voices are loud, where winged messengers are disavowed. They disown our common lineage and speak as wolves of sacrilege. Do not make us great again with lies, as our greatness crumbles in empty skies. France, Paris, 1968 to 1972. Half a century ago, by the Pont Mirabeau, the echo of my heel clacked on the quay as nights sweated on the cobblestone. Cloacina misted the Seine with perfumery. Cloacina is the Roman sewer goddess. I had escaped in America, ruled by insolence of the insipid bourgeois cheerfulness, to where fat cigarettes fill the air with smoke rings in praise of Apollinaire. But you cannot become French, mes amis. Write your poems of poignant elegance. You are invited to dream of decadence, but leave when the bank account is empty. La Boheme has its joys and strife. Then go home. Go live your life. Greece, Skiathos, 1972. We lay naked on an isle of caresses as the moon rose with luminescence, filling the horizon of the Mediterranean like a giant globe of phosphorescence. Touching foams of sweet secretions, we lifted a conch from the moistened sand to hear the siren seas from the Grecian past, breathing sighs into our hands. What manner of goddess fills this shell with perfumes for our tongue's desire? We were young and only knew the swell of lust, undulations of the tides. Oh, do not ask, just take, said the whisper within. When you are in love, take all there is. Got three more. How are we doing on time?
5 minutes.
2 minutes? Oh, that's
5 minutes.
perfect. That's okay. Namibia, Etosha National Park, 2002. The animals line up at the watering hole as far as can be seen in the heat of sand, in herds and prides, every creature of the land. Zebra, lion, springbok, buffalo, all queue up in preordained lanes. No killing will occur in this condition. All must drink from the small muddy lake. A most democratic solution. How they all adopt to the scourge of drought, to go against their tribal nature, like humans in the breadlines from war or whatever natural catastrophe will mount. But all step aside, for the rhinos drink first, like the politicians we bow to and curse. Dominican Republic, Santiago. This is crazy. Drinking and driving is permitted, encouraged actually. Horns occupy the air. When a traffic cop holds his white mitten, don't stop, go right through. Goats are everywhere. Don't signal while driving. Why tell them your next move? Fresh fruits and roast pork adorn the avenidas, and the women are handsome and sway with the moon. They love baseball and Presidente Cerveza. There's always bachata, the soul of first kiss, the primer beso when you're in love and you want to kiss them all. Oh, what bliss, what bliss. The scent of the tropics and the flowered stars above, things you remember when you live somewhere and are the fantasies you had when you were there. Uh, I'll read two more. I'll pass Tanzania. New York, Manhattan, 2010. The epicenter of the world. You can be anyone when you live there, feeling you live somewhere. In infested tenements or penthouse of millionaires, you wear a voice which speaks in first person. rushing through the turnstiles of vacant eyes in a silence of self-absorbed realities. Blood brother to Rome, Hierophant of Greece, city of masks, of illusion and grief. Bridges weave to a dizzying mass of towers. A density of steam and gasoline rise in the gray, and suddenly you stand, paralyzed in the rush hours as the palpitating sirens strip your humanity. You are just a face in the crowded anywhere, seeking to be alone, to breathe a different air. And my last one is the next trip to Mongolia, to the Gobi Desert in 20 something, I hope, amid misted winds of Asia in an open Jeep. Cool from the nearby Himalayan peaks, I'll hear honking calls of the camel pack as they pass on silken sands, leaving tracks. Now I take the photograph I need, at last, to sleep inside my dreams. Every voyage ends in a picture frame that says, "This too mine eyes have seen." The majestic scene I draw in my mind, who can say if the moment will shine when the wait is over, when at last I am there, as my arms open wide and eyes fill with tears? Years pass with extravagant denouement. What would be different now had I never gone? Thank you.
Unmute, ladies and gentlemen. Unmute. Wow. Let him hear it. Show it.
Hey. Thank you. That's the second time I ever read that collection. I don't write that many more. I haven't written sonnets in some years, but that was just a part of my life. I enjoyed writing them. And thank you for listening to them. I hope they weren't too overbearing.
They
Too
were
many.
great. They were great.
They were great. The language, the images, the historicity of some of them, just beautiful.
Thank you all.